Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. Tonight it will be the Stars and Cars, the USFPRO Championships, coming to you from Little Budworth in Cheshire, England, the Oulton Park circuit. 2.7 miles, 4 and change kilometers, where a car similar to this holds the track record at 128.619. Joseph Loke. Good bloke that is, picking up the track record there a couple of years ago. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth, as always, by Mr. James Watson. Patrick Byrne is on assignment or doing something more interesting tonight. But, James, looking forward to this one. Week number 8 of the season. We're going to start to count the drop weeks now. Tight championship battle at the front with Sam Carasala and Ted Burns battling tooth and nail for this one. And quite frankly, two guys both in the show tonight that have been lightning quick throughout the week.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out with the championship at such a track that everyone has a lot of experience. Like, this is essentially a stalwart on the Indy Pro schedule and has been for some time. So there's not a whole lot of time you're gonna find at this point, so I'm curious to see how everyone's gonna stack up.
Yeah, big SOF tonight. In fact, big field tonight. 18 cars. How about 36 on the entry list here tonight? 34-22 is the SOF for our 18 cars split. A lot of the big names are here, and quite frankly, because the number is so big, there's also a lot of guys that maybe might ordinarily be second split drivers. Now they're making it into top split. I'm looking at Jason Paydu, Joel Campbell, Wes Shire. These guys are right up front in second split week in and week out. Sometimes they make top split, but now there's a big championship battle, not just overall, but the Division 2, 3, 4, 5 championships. There's a lot of people that could benefit here tonight.
Yeah, especially for those that are competing in some of the other divisions, like Division 3 or 4. If the top guys make a serious mistake, that could be some huge game-changing points for them. Could potentially be what makes or breaks their division championship hopes. Because if someone in Division 5 ends up getting, like, say, 200... or, no, it might be a little more. But you get what I'm saying. They could get, like, a huge amount of points for, like, top 5. And
correct.
That might not be anything that anyone else can do.
Yeah, you may not get another chance like that all season long. Hopefully, Ted Burns has a chance for lap number 2 here. It looked like right at turn 1, he may have had a bit of an off-track excursion. We'll see if lap number 1 will score for Teddy B. Entering tonight's race, the championship battle is tighter than it sounds. Sam Carasala has already scored a race this week. He has 1,216 points to Ted Burns' 1,099. Teddy B has scored 7 weeks thus far. So tonight's race will 100% count for Ted Burns. Likely will also count for Sam Carasala. But now that we're getting to the drop weeks, James, you have to almost start thinking back to where did somebody have a bad night? Where did somebody have a mistake, an issue somewhere? Even Ted Burns not getting to run the Thursday night split, having to run earlier in the week. That could be a big deal here as Teddy B does score lap number 1 at a 1:24.9. Wow, that's a heater on lap 1.
Yeah, that's a heck of a lap.
They were talking about barely getting into about halfway through the 1:24.5s in some of the practice sessions. How about Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, the law firm, to the top of the charts? 24:856, the lap time of record. Top 3 cars all separated by 76 thousandths of a second. David Porcelli looks like he's out to lunch. 2 tenths back after lap number 1, and he's the car currently sitting in 4th. He'll make up a lot of that time, though, here on lap number 2.
Yeah, you can always make the first lap a throwaway lap. It's never wholly representative of everyone's pace. You know, you're just trying to get those tires up to temp.
And that's what's mildly terrifying about the laps in the 24s that we're seeing out of the top 3 drivers. Porcelli's good lap number 1, 25.087. It's not like he's that far off. But we'll continue to follow Teddy B as he'll come up over the start-finish line. Lap number 2 for Burns will be quick time, 24.536. Wow, what a lap from Ted Burns. Sam Carasala moves quickly up to the 2nd position, knocking David Porcelli down to 3rd. Now Denis Serdyakov up into the 3rd position to drop Porcelli back to 4th. Let's pick up Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. He is working towards the end of his 2nd lap. Oh, but he's a little bit off course. That lap will not score. Pick up now Jason Miller in car number 10, the PPG Paints entry. Currently 11th on the grid, almost an even 1 second back. Jacob Brufloat moving up into the 13th position. Joel Campbell and Ellis Spice both on the racetrack as well. Let's pick up Ellis Spice. Take a look at this race car. Very Miami colors leading into this weekend's, I guess, what is it, the U.S. Grand Prix? No, it's not the U.S. Grand Prix. Is it the Miami Grand Prix?
Correct.
You can only have one race titled as the country name. Somehow we have 3.
Yeah.
So one is called Miami, one is called Las Vegas, and the USGP, obviously running at the Circuit of the Americas. So Brufloat, Corey Nolan is on the racetrack still. He just completed his qualification run back there in position number 15. I'll talk a little bit about the racetrack here, James, as we're going to get ready to head to the grid here in about 1 minute and 40 seconds. Some great passing opportunities, some really interesting places to just screw your own race up, but absolutely gutsy passing opportunities like right here into the chicane.
Yeah, but keyword, gutsy. It's not a whole lot of room you have to work with. So you've got to make sure that you're there, that pass is almost completely pulled off. Otherwise, it's going to be a game of chicken for both cars, and it will probably not end well.
To reference the late, great Ayrton Senna and his driving style, as we will see Ellis come over the start-finish line to complete his qualification run. He will be in position number 12 to start this race. Martin Brundle talked about the fact that Senna would put you in a position where your choices were crash and be the driver that caused the crash, or back out. And it was always Senna's fault until it wasn't, basically. And it kind of put you in a bad position as an opposing driver where you had to make that call of, do I crash us both or do I back out and let them win? That's what a lot of those passes that you're going to attempt here are like. You really have to be gutsy and almost force the car into that position.
Pretty much. And it's frustrating if you're the driver, but honestly, it's incredibly entertaining for us watching.
That is exactly right. Just waiting on some of the cars a little bit farther up the grid to come out here, but while they get ready to come on out, we can show you tonight's starting lineup. Well, no, hold on. We got to refresh all the paint schemes here. Sam Carasala getting out onto the grid now. Let's take a look here at Sam. There's a good look at that race car. And now that we got all the paint schemes updated, let's take a look and show you tonight's starting lineup for the US iRacing at USFPRO Championship from Oulton Park. 18 laps will be the distance tonight. On the pole in the downforce racing, number 1, it is Ted Burns with a lap time of 1 minute 24.536 seconds. Starting to his outside, the Alaska Airlines, number 2 of Sam Carasala. Championship contenders locking out the front row here this evening. That is Serdyakov and the Buzzing Hornets, number 7, lining up inside of row number 2. On the outside will be the 3 of David Porcelli. Row number 3, Alexander Wesley Hazelworth and Alexander Martin. Good qualifying run there for Martin in car number 8. Jason Miller and Nagisa Yoshikawa on row number 4. Row 5, Brian Labarge and Frank Wynn. Couple of brightly colored race cars there. Rod Eskew and Ellis Spice on row 6. Row 7, Jacob Brufloat and Mike Holler. Row number 8, Jason Paydu and Joel Campbell. Corey Nolan and Wes Shire on row number 9. That's a new look for Wes Shire. A good-looking T. Watson Racing Setups entry right there. 18 cars making up your starting grid here this evening. Field down over the start-finish line. Green flag goes in the air. We are underway here at Oulton Park. Everything looks clean down towards turn number 1. Ted Burns able to jump out to a nice advantage over Sam Carasala. Good battle back here for position number 3. Dennis Serdyakov and David Porcelli doing battle. And now, James, this is one of those tracks where once you start to settle in, you really have to work on making time. It's not a great draft track. There is a little bit that comes into play, especially down that front straightaway. But you're just going to have to be really, really fast on outright pace to stay close to the leader here.
Yeah, but it's also nice in that regard because if you make one mistake, you're not completely hosed, you know? You don't have to worry about losing the draft and, oh, my race is over now. Like, if you're quick enough, you can catch up. Or if they're fighting even just a little bit, you can still make up a lot of ground.
Alexander Martin tried to get around Nagisa Yoshikawa. Oh, Jason Miller, little slide. Martin's off into the gravel. Alexander Martin all the way out to the tire barriers. I don't think he made contact, but now he's going to be shotgun on the field.
Yeah, now that's the mistake that's going to mess your race up, draft or no draft.
Yeah, there's only so far off the racing surface that you can get away with that, being that far out to lunch. I want to thank everybody that's tuned in on YouTube and hanging out with us here on a Thursday night. A little bit steamy here in the southeast part of Pennsylvania. Well, it sounds like one car going for a slide down into the hairpin, and now it's going to be Alexander Wesley Hazelworth and Dennis Serdyakov doing battle a little bit farther up the field. Hazelworth getting around Serdyakov. He wants to go to work on David Porcelli.
Well, Martin's on pit road, so he must have gotten some sort of damage in that incident.
Yeah, it looks like Alexander Martin, unfortunately, may be the first car out of this race here tonight. Still in the box, but upwards of 50 seconds on pit lane. As Hazelworth going to make the dive on Porcelli. Burns and Carasala have checked out. They're already 2.25 seconds up the road. Two leaders separated by about half a second, call it 0.6, as they make their way out of turn number 2. Wonder if this isn't a racetrack where Serdyakov may be a little bit out of sorts running with some of these more experienced drivers in the series. He proved to be very quick in qualifications, putting the car up on the grid podium. But there's a whole different story between hot lapping here and racing this racetrack.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of consistency and just trying to make sure that you're not too aggressive around the cars in front of you. You know, you've got to be careful when you're sending it into the chicane, because if you send it just a little too hard, you're going to make some serious contact, which if that's how you take it in qualifying, that's going to be a bit of a problem for you.
Seeing Brian Labarge battling with Mike Holler, going to have to get used to the new colors there for Labarge. Rod Eskew and Frank Wynn also dueling, as Teddy B puts up another new fastest lap of the race. Things starting to close up ever so slightly at the front of the field. Sam Carasala gaining a little bit of ground into turn number 2 there. The big bowl. It looks like it'd be a place that is a great passing opportunity. But James, it really more is about getting the corner exit speed and setting up the run down here into the chicane.
Yeah, it's also a terrifying braking zone, too. You're having to make a pretty significant change in direction. You know, you've got that long, sweeping left-hand curve into the right-hand hairpin. So you need to make sure that you have the car placed exactly where it needs to be, because as an open-wheel car, these things don't like to brake in anything but a straight line. So if you're not careful, it can end very poorly.
Yeah, the comment coming in here from Alexander Martin. No mistake, just got a little contact and bit the grass. Yeah, that's exactly it. Maybe a little bit of left side loving. I believe that was, may have been Jason Miller, I believe. But, like you said, James, the slightest bit of contact in these cars that you're trying to get them to slow down in a straight line. And then that little bit of contact is enough to just force you off the racetrack and adios amigo.
Pretty much.
Let's take a look a little bit further back in the pack here. Well, let's see. There we go. Well, trying to find my mouse. I don't know where it is. Great battle back here. Porcelli back through Jason Miller, 3rd through 7th. All running nose to tail. Following these guys, 8th, 9th, and 10th, SQ, Win, and Holler, all separated by about 0.6 of a second. Ryan Labarge, he's running by himself. Then you go back 12, 13, 14 are pretty close. And we talk about getting to where you belong on pace. So you have a bad lap in qualifying, you're going to have some work to do. Maybe you outkick your coverage a little bit and put up your best lap you've ever run in qualifying. You have to work really hard to defend the position. That's a little bit easier to do here than at a place, say, like Barber, where it's a little bit wider of a racetrack, a couple of more passing zones. You really have to make an effort to get around somebody here.
Yeah, the only real passing opportunity for the most part is either into turn 1 or the chicane. And you could very easily defend it by just changing where you're entering the corner and kind of cutting off their entry into it. So yeah, it doesn't take a defensive guru to be able to hold position.
Well, we say that. David Porcelli is very good at it, and we watched him and Carter Lundy go absolutely ballistic here a couple of seasons ago. In fact, Lundy just straight missing that chicane twice over the course of the race, taking the slowdown penalty and still being able to take the fight to Porcelli. It really is a racetrack where if you're running solo, there is time to be gained. Hazelworth may be a quicker car than Porcelli, but it doesn't mean he's going to get an opportunity to come around him here, as we're already down to 12 laps to go.
Yeah, you're going to have to hope that David makes a significant mistake if you're in the law firm, and it's not a high percentage of that happening.
Other than potentially getting the car off onto the grass at the exit of turn number 2, that could be the mistake. But that's the whole
I
thing.
said it's not a high chance. I didn't say it was impossible.
Well, the other thing is, it looks like not that big of a mistake. You dip the tires off, no big deal. The reality is this car is so momentum dependent here that turns into a huge thing. You're not losing a 10th or 2, you're losing half a second.
Yeah, and coming up to the longest straightaway and one of the best passing opportunities. It's a very not ideal place to make that mistake.
Seeing Mike Holler getting around Brian Lamarge in the battle for the 10th position. We'll come back up here to the fight between Porcelli and Hazelworth. Serdyakov also has been pretty impressive this season. And one of the things I've noticed is he is a driver that is really coming into his own with the car. You kind of have to learn how the tires operate. It's very different from driving the F3, F4 cars that are here on the iRacing platform. It's more American in how it drives. For somebody that doesn't maybe have a ton of experience with the car, Denny Serdyakov is doing a very nice job getting acclimated quickly.
Yeah, and with the pace he's shown, it's like he's been running this car for a few seasons now.
At the front of the field, it's still a half-second gap between Ted Burns and Sam Carasala. David Porcelli doing his best to hold off Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. Next time by, we will be down to 10 laps to go. And these two are opening up the gap a little bit on Serdyakov as here he comes. Oh, Hazelworth ducks back inside. Kind of showed Porcelli the nose. Great run up the hill for Porcelli. Able to open up the gap to 2.5 car lengths, but very quickly that snap right-hander at turn 1. The hook through turn 2. This is almost flat out, and then the long run here. Hazelworth, though, like you talked about, James, he almost has to have the pass completed by the time they get to the bowl down here.
Yeah, you've got to make it to where there's absolutely nothing the car you're passing can do. You know, basically like what we were saying earlier, like you have to make it to where either you let me by or give me enough room or we both die. Like right there.
Oh, what a dive by Hazelworth. And now that's going to bring Serdyakov right back into the fight. I was about to say, interesting line that Porcelli is running through the bowl. Kind of a late apex. Drive the car in a little deep, really woe it up, and then huge back to the power as quickly as you possibly can. It basically takes any passing attempt away there for Hazelworth.
Yeah,
all three of these cars getting twitchy there.
Yeah, that plays into what we were talking about with defensive driving, you know. So there's so many ways you can keep a car behind you without actually blocking them. And that last time through the chicane, that was the perfect example of how you defend without blocking.
Yes, Michael McDowell could probably take a note or two.
I'm still bitter. Brad was robbed.
Hazelworth trying to run a little bit different line. He was a little bit higher that time through turn 5 than was Porcelli. Now Porcelli kind of covering the inside lane, swings back out to the middle of the racetrack. We watched Porcelli do this to Carter Lundy, and it wasn't successful. Lundy was able to attack on the outside, knowing Porcelli would give him the line. You have to think that's going to start going through Alexander Wesley Hazelworth's head here in the next couple laps.
Yeah, for sure. He's just got to be careful that he doesn't open himself up to that, basically.
Oh, and there's contact! Hazelworth goes around! Serdyakov's into the side of Hazelworth. That's going to end the battle for third. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
We're going to take a look at this one from the overhead. Pick it up on the NRN replay. Serdyakov making the dive down to the inside. and just wasn't there to make the move. That was, I would say, overly aggressive.
Yeah, he put his nose in there. It wasn't anything too ridiculous or over aggressive. I just don't think Hazelworth was quite expecting it. He gave him enough room, but honestly, I just kind of want to say it was a bit of a racing deal. Whoa!
What a pass by Jason Miller into the chicane. Yoshikawa going to fight back to the inside. He's got nothing there. And now, this is a fight that is up good for potentially a podium. If Burns, Carasala, or Porcelli has an issue, Jason Miller could possibly steal himself a podium here. Hazelworth and Serdyakov, by the way, falling back to 8th and 9th. And I would imagine that's the really frustrating part for Hazelworth, is that it's still fairly early in the race. There's still 7 laps to go. To me, it was just a move that didn't have to get made then, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There was still a lot of laps left. It wasn't a bad move. It's a good move if it's like 2 or 3 laps to go. It wasn't super aggressive. It was just a bit optimistic. In the right context, I don't hate that move at all, but it's one of those where it's like, yeah.
Well, context is the absolute key in that situation. Because the reality was, whichever one of those two was going to end up battling Porcelli for 3rd, you weren't catching the leaders. So you were in your own race at that point, and you just kind of have to know the situation.
Yeah, and I think that's also kind of why it ended up happening, was I don't think Hazelworth was necessarily expecting it until he turned in like normal, and he saw it at the last moment and tried to give what room he could. It just ended up being not enough. And hold on, is this a battle for the lead?
Yes, it is. Sam Carasala right up under the rear attenuator of Ted Burns with 6 circuits remaining here at Oulton Park. Oh, Carasala's gonna be there.
Oh!
So tight into the chicane. Carasala backs off.
Whoa.
He's gonna get a great run out of the corner. Both cars get a little tail happy. And David Porcelli, 6 seconds back. He just gets to set hot laps at this point. Unfortunately, not going to be enough time to catch up to your 2 leaders unless they have some sort of an issue. A coming together, if you will.
Which they might, because they're getting pretty close.
That was a well-executed Pruitt fade by Ted Burns down that back straightaway towards the chicane. Basically, you give the guy next to you enough room, but you just kind of keep squeezing over ever so slightly, little by little, until he just has no more room to run. It's that Ayrton Senna thing we talked about. Put your opponent in a position where they back out or they wreck you both.
Yeah, and this is fascinating because this is such a high talent level battle. Like, we know how good Ted is, and Sam is showing that he is very much a part of the front battle no matter what. Oh, he's looking at the outside.
They're going to do it again!
Oh, just a little too wide for Sam. Just didn't quite work.
Sam overcooked it into the chicane. And something of note, what we saw Carter Lundy do and take the off tracks may not be possible anymore. With the introduction of rain, apparently the off-track penalties have become significantly more penal in nature. So where Carter would just have to back off a little bit, you're having to give up a ton now if you miss the chicane, which basically is what Sam Carasala had to do. He missed the chicane being on the outside. And now Ted Burns has a 7/10 of a second lead here with 4 laps to go. Oh, but Teddy B slides a little wide at turn 1. And Sam is in draft range here, so that will come into play. It's not a huge draft track, but it does make a little bit of a difference here in a couple of spots, I think. I mean, you can see it now. That's 7/10. It's down to 3/10 and dropping. Call it 3 car lengths as they get to the chicane this time. And the next time by the start-finish line, it'll be only 3 laps to go. Man, you can hear him really sliding these Cooper tires around. What I always found to be fascinating about this car is how it seems like, especially for the distance the officials run, the tires just get better lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, you're in the sweet spot of getting them consistently within the optimal operating temperature without overheating them or getting them to the burn-off point. On road. Oval, that's a bit of a different story, but road, it's just, well, perfect.
That time by, Sam Carasala went a new purple lap. 1:24.275. A almost full 10th of a second faster than Ted Burns. I don't think Sam's close enough to try anything this time into the chicane. But at this point, I don't know that you want to try something into the chicane. It's kind of where Teddy's expecting it. You're going to have to go counter thought process and find a spot that he's not expecting the passing attempt.
Hit it where they ain't. We could see a move into the last corner, a la what we saw with Hazelworth and Dennis, hopefully with a different outcome.
At least both cars coming out of it in one piece. By the way, those combatants, Hazelworth now runs in the 9th position. Serdyakov back in 11th. Now with just 2 circuits remaining, Carasala's there. It's a matter of where is the attempt going to come. It almost feels like you're going to have to sell the dummy and do a really darn good job of it.
I think so. As that battle for P4 with Yoshikawa and Miller. Oh, I think there might have been some sort of incident. Now it's Eskew up in P4.
Yeah, Rod Eskew to P4. Nagisa Yoshikawa having an incident here. Let's quickly take a look at the NRN replay, see what it looks like from overhead. Oh, contact for Yoshikawa and Miller.
That's hard. That was that netcode? Because the way those 2 cars converged on each other was a bit weird.
Yeah, it almost looked like it was that netcode-y kind of, they got sucked into each other kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a shame, because that was another great battle that is messed up. But, I mean, Rod Eskew and P4, how about that? That might be what we were talking about earlier with the lower divisions. I think Rod's in Division 3, so this is huge for his hopes at the Division title. That's going to be some serious points.
Rod Eskew is a Division 2 driver with Mike Holler and Brian Labarge. It's huge, all right, for Rod Eskew if he can keep that car in the 4th position. As the white flag is out, we are down to 1 final circuit remaining here at Oulton Park. This place is fast becoming one of my favorite to call a race from.
Oh, Sam is looking.
Good corner exit that time by Burns. And here he comes. Oh, he's going to try to fade him. Oh, they almost touch into the chicane. Burns locks up. Carousala's going to be right there. Oh, I think Sam had to get out of it to avoid running him over. Burns trying to cover the lines as best he can. Here comes the dive by Carasala. Nothing there yet. The gap is up to 3 car lengths to the final corner. Burns is out of it clear. Onto the front straightaway. Twin checkers will go in the air. Carasala pulls out, but it's Ted Burns getting the win at Oulton Park. Sam Carasala comes home second. David Porcelli holds on for third. And how about it? Ron Eskew putting those Philadelphia Flyers colors up in P4. Frank Wynn will round out the top 5 here this evening. As we'll get you a look at Ted Burns, your race winner. What a battle with Sam Carasala. And I'll tell you what, a very smartly driven race for both Burns and Carasala. By avoiding the early battles, they were able to check out and not have to deal with the rest of the field. Unlike David Porcelli, who had to play defense a lot, these two were able to settle it amongst themselves by dictating the early pace.
What I found interesting is that I believe qualifying is what dictated the outcome of this race. Like, Sam was like, what, less than half a tenth behind Ted for the pole? If he can make up that little bit of ground and starts on the pole, it might be a Sam Carasala win.
You know what?
Amazing the gaps.
How about, James, you are more onto something than you know.
Yeah, I did a thing.
I am going to do the quick math here. 0.039 was the difference. So if you subtract out the margin of victory in the race, Sam Carasala and Ted Burns were separated by 0.189 seconds between qualifying and the race. Wow. We'll take it. Man, what a show we got from these guys here tonight. Let's take a look at your race results. Burns by a tenth and a half over Carasala. Porcelli holds on to the podium, 6.9 seconds back. Nice run there for David Porcelli. Ron Eskew and Frank Wynn complete the top 5. 6 through 10 tonight, Jason Miller, Nagisa Yoshikawa, Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, Mike Holler, and Brian Labarge. Tough break for Hazelworth after the early contact with Serdyakov. Serdyakov going to finish tonight in the 13th position, just behind Jacob Brutfloat and Joel Campbell. 14th to Ellis Spice, 15th Jason Paydu, 16th place Corey Nolan, Wes Shire in 17th, and Alexander Martin out of the race early, 6 laps behind the race leaders. You all right over there, James?
Yeah, if you want to call it that.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, well, let's take a look, see who we have here that we can talk to. Let's bring up our race winner tonight, Mr. Ted Burns. Ted, a phenomenal drive. James made a fantastic point. How important qualifying was. If you factor in the gap between you and Sam, between qualifying and the race, it was less than 0.2 of a second. How important was it being able to dictate when this race got started?
Oh, it was extremely important. That's kind of what we were just talking about, that the green here comes out so fast, and it's before you ever get the call that the pace car is like in the pit lane. And I remember that from a couple seasons ago, and I used it to my advantage back then because I had a terrible qualifying and went like 6th to 2nd, on the opening lap just because I got a jump at the start. So I wanted to make sure no one got the jump on me, so I went, maybe just a touch early, but I don't think everyone was expecting that, and so that was a nice little advantage, especially for when I made a mistake into the chicane on the first lap and almost threw the whole race away. But after that, Sam got close, kept the pressure on, and it was a tough race. Couldn't relax. So yeah, definitely put a lot of emphasis on qualifying today because I knew Sam was going to be quick out there, and had to beat him to the line.
Well, and we saw how intense the battle was, especially over the late stages of the race. It almost felt like you were trying to put your car in that position where Sam was either going to wreck you both or have to back out. Is that kind of what you were going for, whether you call that the Senna, the Pruitt fade, the whatever it was? Car positioning was really important leading into the chicane.
Yeah, for sure, and I was able to try it on the inside and the outside, and kind of dictate what I like, and it's just about who's getting into the corner first. So if I was able to go a little bit deeper on the brakes, but still keep it on the track, I can kind of try and pinch him down there. So I think it was just kind of a little bit of bravery going in there, and so I knew I went too deep on lap 1. So after that, I kind of knew what was possible, and so it was really just all about pushing that brake zone. And yeah, like you said, car placement was huge. So it's important to be able to dictate where you want to go. But at the same time, Sam he was doing really well in the draft. But anytime he made a move, it wasn't when I had made a mistake earlier. So there were definitely a couple times where he had a little bit bigger gap, or didn't make a move when I thought he definitely could have. So.
Well, now we head off 1 week from tonight to the world's greatest race course. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course could not be more different from this place, it feels like. This is very flowy. IMS is very fast, technical-ish in spots. What are your thoughts as we head into that one? Because I don't think you're going to get a 2-car battle. Might get more like a 20-car battle for the race win next week.
Yeah, I remember that from last season. It was it's a difficult track because it's really flat and smooth. So it's deceiving how much speed you can carry, and so I feel like you're almost fighting the car more there than you are here over all the bumps and the tight corners, because you can really just kind of put the car on the nose and wheel it around here. In Indy, it's all just about that sustained minimum speed all the way around the track. So. It's the draft is going to be huge next week, and if last season is any indication, we could have a 5-6 car battle for the lead. So it's it's going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we are too, Ted, and thank you very much for coming to hang out with us here for a couple of minutes up in the booth. Congratulations on picking up another win this season. That would make it, 10 wins in 12 starts this season and 11 out of 12 top 5. Incredible season you're having thus far. Congratulations on it, and before we let you go, do all those sponsor plugs and shout-outs for us.
Yeah, I got to thank Downforce Racing. Made an awesome setup this week, and I ran exactly what I shared, publicly with everyone. So if you're sleeping on those setups, they're fast. And I got to thank you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast. I love watching it each week, and say hi to all the family, friends back home, and everyone for coming out and making this an awesome race. It was so cool to see 2 splits tonight.
2 big splits for that matter too, Ted. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us up here in the booth. And now we're going to go and talk to the guy who is, I'm going to say, probably a little bit frustrated with himself, maybe. Sam Carasala, a fantastic drive tonight. The car looked like a rocket ship. How did it feel from behind the steering wheel?
I feel really good. I love this track. Oulton Park is one of my favorites. I'm not such a big fan of the chicanes, but all the other parts of the track are just 10 out of 10 in my books. I love it.
Over that last couple of lap battle there that you had with Ted, it seemed like your car was really coming on strong, and anywhere that you would try to make a move, Teddy left you enough room, but not enough, if that makes sense. Is that kind of what you were feeling, and it was just going to be either wreck the two of you or you kind of have to force them out of the way?
Well, I didn't want either of us to wreck out, and I did go back and look at the replay, especially on the final lap heading into the chicane, just to see what happened from a different point of view. And you know what? You're right. He gave me exactly 1 car's width of room. So fair play to him. That's some really good defending from Ted. And yeah, it's so hard to overtake on this track. It's such a skinny track, and there's just not enough room to make things happen here.
Well, next week we're going to a place with plenty of room, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, and you're going to do it as the points leader, 1303 to 1267. Now, Ted doesn't have a week scored yet, so it is a little bit skewed. But what are your thoughts here as we head off to IMS, IRP, and then we go to kind of a similar course to this when we head to VIR, and then the New Hampshire Roval to close out the season? Wide variety of racetracks and what really looks like it's going to be a great battle between you two.
So for me, I really prefer tracks like Oulton Park or Barber last week, which have a lot of really high-speed flowing corners. So Indianapolis is not one of my strongest. I'm going to have to do quite a little bit more prep than normal to be there. The ovals, for me, I just got to go out there and see what happens. But VIR North, and especially the New Hampshire Oval, those are, again, two of my favorite tracks. So I'm really hoping I can close out the season strong.
Well, we're looking forward to it, seeing if you can pick up your first overall championship here in the U.S. Open Wheel Championship, the USFPRO cars. Sam, congratulations on a great finish tonight, and do all those sponsor plugs and shout-outs before we let you out of here.
Hey, thanks to you guys, as always, for broadcasting. I'm looking forward to going back and watching this. And thanks to Team Watson Racing for making a great setup.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here. And now it's time to talk to our third-place finisher. This guy, David Porcelli, you had a handful behind you at various points tonight. Alexander really pushing you hard. Then he has the contact with Denny. And then at that point, it was just kind of like turn it in and start running hot laps here because the car was good. Just maybe a tick off having to battle these guys early on.
Yeah, I think it was both the battles, and apologies to Dennis. I wish we could have gotten through that corner without contact and that incident. And then I was sort of hoping I could catch the leaders, and I didn't do that. So I'm sort of disappointed in the performance that I put on today. I'll take the podium, but those guys had something else at the start. Felt like the car came to me towards the end of the race, and it was actually quite quick at the second half. It just, like, once again, they've built a gap that's so significant at the start that is just not enough to be able to come back from. So definitely going to be looking into that, trying to get a slightly quicker car on the cold tires, even if that means compromising ultimate pace slightly.
How big of a shift is that when you're talking about making that type of setup change? Are you talking a click here or here and there in the setup page, or are you talking about something that's more of a wholesale swing at it?
Well, last week I would have given you a different answer than I'm going to say this week. I'm going to reserve my, I'm going to choose not to answer. I'm not sure yet. I've really got to figure this out. Those guys seem to have, 3/10 in qualifying, 7 seconds in the race. That it's like a 20-lap race, it does add up. So I've got to find about a quarter second here. So we'll see.
Well, we will see what you bring out here next week to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. We're looking forward to seeing you there and some great battles you've had with a variety of drivers at that track. David, congratulations once again on the podium. And before we let you go, do all those sponsor plugs and shout-outs for us.
Absolutely. A shout out to Racecraft One Indianapolis. Hi to the family. Thanks to Team Watson Racing, Satellite Racing, and thanks to National Racing Network for an awesome broadcast every week. And hope to see you guys in the booth next week.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here for just a couple of minutes. Interesting non-committal answer there by David Porcelli, James. This is something I think I will ask you to speak in general terms on. Because you do a lot of the setup development work there for Team Watson Racing setups, and you've got a huge team that does them. How many times do you guys find you're taking a big swing at it, and how many times are you going a click here, a click there, and making these very minor adjustments that have a big impact?
It honestly depends on how you've been running and how the car is feeling. So I think for Dave, I think he feels comfortable with the car, but Ted and Sam seem to be a little bit quicker, which is for us watching and for Dave, it's a bit unexpected. So I think Dave is going to try and maybe not necessarily take a huge swing, but try to see if he can play around with a few different things to see if he can find that couple of tenths that he's off. It's not a whole lot, honestly.
Well, I was just about to say, when I'm looking for 2 tenths, it feels like you are doing incredible things with the race car, and I am nowhere close to the pace that these guys are at. I'm looking for seconds. When you're trying to find tenths, that's hard, because even finding hundredths, you can find little things, a blip in the throttle tracer or the braking traces and looking at telemetry and those kinds of things. It's when you're looking for that 2 tenths that you go, I don't know where it is. I don't even know where to start. And you could hear a little bit of that frustration in David's voice.
Yeah, like, we know race teams will spend millions of dollars to find those 2 tenths. So, with us here, it just takes a lot more time and effort trying to try a whole bunch of different things and see if you can get lucky and stumble upon something. Honestly, I think that's how you find a lot of your best setup changes, is when you're the most desperate. You just play around with something. You're like, oh,
yeah,
and then you do some more time on it. And you're like,
the light bulb moment happens.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. The light bulb clicks, and you go, whoa. Well,
like, getting to that point, that's the worst part, because you're kind of worried. Well, I don't know if this is a worry for Dave. It's a worry for me. You're scared on if you're going to have that moment where you stumble upon that thing you've been looking for this whole time.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into building these setups and quite frankly, prepping for these races, and a phenomenal job by the entire community putting a great show on. 2 big splits tonight. Absolutely awesome. 30-plus cars on the entry list. Love to see the growth in the USFPRO Championship. But now it's time for us to take, well, not really, but take the weekend off from the iRacing stuff anyway. Coming up Saturday and Sunday, real world racing action. The Spec Corvette Series from VIR. We'll visit the virtual world right before Memorial Day weekend, but we're going to do it for the Spec Corvettes coming up this weekend. And that is a Mid-Atlantic versus Southeast Challenge race. 10-plus Spec Corvettes in the field. One of the biggest classes showing up here to this race. We're looking forward to it. As soon as we have a firm-ish idea of when these races will broadcast, we will be posting up the YouTube links. Going to have some meetings with the Spec Corvette folks tomorrow and get everything squared away. We are really looking forward to getting these guys back on the air. You will see them both Saturday and Sunday. 25-minute race on Saturday, 35-minute race coming up this Sunday. Going to be a great show. Looking forward to that one in a big way. Coming up next week, it will be road course week for the Silver Crowns, heading off to Watkins Glen International. Oh, that's so exciting. Don't miss that show. If there's one show I'm going to ask you to watch all year, it is the Silver Crowns at Watkins Glen. It is so good. That will be Monday night, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, followed up on Tuesday, the Sprint Cars visiting Southern National, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the TNT Shock Series at Richmond Raceway. That's going to be a good show. Tuesday night, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And as we mentioned, 1 week from tonight, the USFPRO Championships head off to the world's greatest race course. We are going back home again in Indiana in the month of May. Oh, I can't wait. I am so darned excited. In fact, after IMS, we go to IRP back-to-back with the Crowns and Sprints. So much racing coming up from Indiana. I am really, really excited for it. But with that, it's time for us to get the heck on out of here. For James Watson, Patrick Byrne, everybody else here at the National Racing Network that helps us get these shows on the air, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.